presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
High fly ball, pretty well hit. Ichiro at the wall, touch them all. Tucker Barnite, a grand slam. There's one at second. They turn it over, and that's the old bogey.
Nicely done.
And the Reds even this series in a game apiece. That's the way it played out here last night. So now we turn the page to this Wednesday night battle, the third of four, the Marlins and the Reds. We'll see if the Reds can make it back-to-back wins. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball right here on Fox Sports Ohio. We started to talk last night. We've talked so much lately about the improved pitching, especially the bullpen for the Reds. Another area that continues to improve, the offense. They're getting on base more, they're hitting better, thus scoring more runs.
Well, if you score more runs, you're going to win more ball games, and you can see how bad it was in the month of April. Even May was down. July was the best month the Reds had, the only month so far that they have been over 500. Right now, they are 7-7 in the month of August. So, you know, they're getting that double combination of good pitching and scoring some runs.
Well, speaking of good pitching, we certainly saw that in Homer Bailey's last start, just his third start since coming off the disabled list, and he'll get the ball for start number 4 tonight.
You know, he's been so good in 2 of his 3 starts, you're wondering really where to set the bar of expectation for Homer Bailey. I mean, because when he's right, he makes it look awfully easy. Looks like he's playing catch out there. Fastball with a lot of life on it, 94, 95 miles an hour. Last time out against the Brewers, he had control of all of his pitches. His slider, his curveball, and the split finger pitch. And if he has a night like that, it's going to be very tough for the Marlins to get off the mat.
Very, very strange pitcher tonight on the mound. I don't mean strange, mentally strange. Strange to try and figure out what is Andrew Cashner.
Well, I mean, he was an uber prospect for so long. A can't-miss, top-of-the-rotation guy, blessed with a high 90s fastball. And when San Diego had him, they thought this guy was just going to lead their rotation for a long, long time, and it just never worked out. And it really comes down to consistency with the breaking pitch, consistency where he throws the fastball. Nowadays, everybody throws 95 miles an hour, so he doesn't stand out like he used to. The Marlins have a rental player right here. They're hoping that Cashner can deliver between now and the end of the year and help them into the playoffs.
Well, when we come back, Jim Day checks in regularly with Joey Votto, and today he'll bring some of that information to you. How hot has Votto been? Who better to ask than Jim Day?
Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good, it's Skyline time.
Homer Bailey on the mound tonight against the Marlins, and most of the game will be dry because a lot of the rain is pushed east of town. So if we do see anything, it'll be a stray shower early in the game. Temperatures will slowly fall through the 70s with lingering cloud coverage. Let's go Reds!
I'm Jim Day on the field. We've been raving about the second half that Joey Votto was putting up, but where do those numbers stack up all time as far as Reds after the All-Star break? It's our IGS bringing the energy. Now keep in mind, these are numbers when these players were in a Reds uniform in their career after the All-Star break. Batting average, only the great Ernie Lombardi is ahead of Votto at .324 post-All-Star game. On base percentage, Votto's .439 is way clear of Joe Morgan's .390. Slugging percentage, Votto trailing only Frank Robinson in OPS 1.000. That is flat out getting it done better than Frank Robinson once again. And you should note, all those other players besides Votto on this list, all National Baseball Hall of Famers. Votto and the Reds behind the pitching of Homer Bailey, looking for their second straight win over the Marlins. Tom Brenneman and Chris Welsh are on deck with all the play-by-play action on Fox Sports Ohio.
Texan Homer Bailey set to start his fourth game of the year and his first at home since August of 2014. And the Marlins lineup he'll face tonight begins with D. Gordon, followed by Martin Prado and Christian Yelich. Ozuna in center, Dietrich the Cleveland native at first, Ichiro in right, Real Muto the catcher, Echevarria at shortstop, Andrew Kashner on the mound. Boy, Homer Bailey coming off a sensational start over the weekend in Milwaukee.
Well, that's the kind of start that the Reds are hoping to see from here on out for the rest of that 6-year deal that they signed him to in 2014. He was electric that day, had control of all of his pitches, and really just dominated the Milwaukee Brewers for every pitch he was out there.
Well, you gotta love that result. First pitch swinging the speedy Gordon, and a fly ball to Rendo. Again gets a start out of left field tonight. So we're underway, one pitch, one out, and here comes Prado. See the numbers on Bailey. 14 2/3 innings. He's allowed 7 earned runs. He's fanned at 21 while walking 5. He's not allowed a home run, and the league batting just shy of 270 against him. So now the batter Prado at 326, having an outstanding year. He looks at ball one. Larry Vanover calls the balls and strikes tonight. Pat Holberg at first, Bill Welke at second base, and DJ Rayburn at third. Vanover, the home plate umpire, is the crew chief. Base hit by Prado. Ho hum. He had 2 hits last night and had a double in the opening inning and wound up scoring a run.
Had an interesting conversation with Martin Prado before the game today and told him how much, you know, I admired his approach at the plate. I mean, he looks like he's a tough bat. He says, you know, it's getting tougher and tougher all the time. I said, how's that? Guys throwing harder? He says, no, that's not it, because there's so many new guys that I've never faced them before. I don't know what they throw. So he's been around a while. He's 32 years old. He's facing tonight 30-year-old Homer Bailey. So evidently they've matched up before, and he has a pretty good idea.
Yelich a drive into left center field that'll stay in the ballpark. At the warning track, making the play is Schebler. Yelich homer to that part of the ballpark here last night. The Reds on defense presented by Ford, and again the outfield because of injuries of Renda, Schebler, and Tyler Holt. Suarez, Cozart, Brandon back in there tonight. And Joey Votto at first. A battery of Tucker and Homer Bailey. Back-to-back starts in the outfield for young Tony Renda. 2 down for Ozuna. Fastball in the inside corner, strike one. Ozuna, 281 batter, 20 home runs, 61 batted in. His on base percentage right around 340. Very talented young center fielder. 0-2.
Good looking pitch there. That's a split finger fastball that Homer Bailey uses as his changeup. He'll throw it a lot too. You can see a split between his index finger and his middle finger, and he just throws it like a fastball. The grip changes the velocity, the spin, and boy, that ball really dove straight down. What was impressive about Homer his last time out was the fact that he had 16 swinging strikes against the Brewers. Now they swing and miss a lot, but still, you know, when you have that type of stuff that you have swings and misses on, that's what people really like about power pitchers. That's why he had 11 strikeouts in 6 innings.
Ozuna came up for about 2 months in 2013, and in 2014 he had a really nice first full year in the big leagues. Hit 23 home runs, knocked in nearly 90, and 26 doubles. But then last year started with a very high batting average, but did not hit for extra bases. So they sent him to the minor leagues after an extended slump. So Chris, that's a pretty bold move by the Marlins, but they said, look, you know, if you're not going to hit for some power, and then all of a sudden when you don't hit at all for about a month and a half, we're going to find a way to get this thing right. And when they brought him back, played much better the last month and a half. Slow hopper to Suarez, and that's all. Homer a good start. A hit, a man left. The Reds come to bat against Andrew Cashner when we return. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup. Reds trying to get their 50th win of the year tonight. Renda in left, Cozart at short, Votto at first base, red hot, white hot. Phillips in the cleanup spot, Suarez at third, Schebler in center. Tucker Barnhart a 12-game hitting streak and a grand slam last night. Well, that's 7th, Holt 8th, Bailey 9th, Cashner on the mound. His 4-start 5th game as a Marlin.
Well, Cashner has always been a very hard-throwing pitcher, former #1 draft pick by the Cubs back in 2008 out of TCU. And he'll come right after you with fastballs for the most part.
Renda not wasting any time, jumping on the first pitch and a pop-up to Suzuki. 1 pitch and 1 out.
Both leadoff hitters have done the same thing here. Cashner's a big guy. I mean, he's listed at 6 feet 6 inches tall. He's got to go about 250 or more. But the one thing you're going to notice about Cashner, and we'll show you this after he starts digging a hole in the mound a little bit. He's 6 feet 6 inches tall, so he's at least a couple of inches taller than Homer Bailey. But his stride is actually shorter than Homer Bailey, so he doesn't get the extension to the plate that you would think a big guy does. And extension is very important because hitters don't hit the velocity of a radar gun. They hit the time it takes the ball to get from the pitcher's hand to the plate. And if you're 3 inches closer, the hitter has less time. And I'm wondering if maybe along the line that's one of the problems that Andrew Cashner has had in his career. That and staying healthy. 30-51 is his lifetime win-loss record. Making start tonight, number 102.
3-1 account on Zach Cozart at 265, 15 home runs, 46 runs driven in. And there's ball 4, and Zach is a 1-out base runner in front of the hottest hitter in all of Major League Baseball since the All-Star break, and that would be Joseph Votto. Take a look at the Marlins on defense, presented by Ford. Everybody in there who was in there last night. Marlins very much in the hunt for a playoff berth. Obviously a very long way to go. They trail the Cardinals by 1 game for the second wild card spot. The Dodgers leapfrogged the Giants for first place in the National League West last night, so that means the Giants are the leaders for the first wild card. Then you have the Cardinals and the Marlins and the Pirates all bunched up together along with the New York Mets. 2-1 to Joey Votto. And here's a look at the wild card standings. The Giants up 2. And then for the second spot, the Pirates 1 back, Miami 1.5. That was after a St. Louis win earlier today against Houston. 2-2 to Joey. It's a 96-mile-per-hour fastball in on the hands, but Votto able to foul it off.
Now this is where all pitchers would love to pitch Votto, because you can only foul him off for so long, but he really shrinks the strike zone by taking that away from pitchers. They eventually get frustrated and go outside, and that's when he really drills it.
Down the left field line over to get it is Yelich, and that'll retire Votto. Cozart still at first, 2 outs in the inning, and here comes Brandon Phillips.
In that way, Votto's a lot like Barry Bonds, the Marlins hitting coach. Bonds, however, would stand right on top of home plate and thereby take away the inside pitch to the pitcher, because anything that really came over the inside part of the plate or just a little bit off, He get hit in the elbow, and he had a big protection arm guard on his arm, so and he go to first base. So he'd shrink that plate, you know, by a good 6 inches just by getting right up on top of the dish.
Baseball's all-time home run king, Barry Bonds.
Some people refuse to recognize that still.
That they do. Brandon, you may remember, left Sunday's game with a bruised left knee, and he will reach base after the boot at third by Prado. Cozart advances first to third.
It looked like it must have taken a bad hop. A lot of overspin right there, and it did. It came up on Prado. You know, this field, even though it was covered, it has rained so much over the last couple of days that a lot of the guys who were taking ground balls today, for the first time, the teams were able to take batting practice outside. We're mentioning how there are a lot of soft spots and then some other spots that were harder. So inconsistency sometimes will lead to bad bounces.
Well, we have had more rain here in the last 72 hours. To try and put it in a little bit of perspective for you, as Phillips will steal second base. That'll be his 9th of the year. We've had more rain in the last 72 hours in places like Southern California and Arizona get in 2 years.
Probably ought to build a pipeline.
Probably should. A lot of that water runoff everywhere, and all of you know about it probably around your houses. Pair of runners in scoring position for Eugenio Suarez to take advantage of the error. Reds scored 5 in the opening inning last night, and everything got started after the first 2 were retired. They had 3 straight hits to load them up. Bases loaded, walked, and Barnhart the grand slam, the first of his career. And it's 3-1 now on Suarez. They are loaded for Scott Schebler. Makes you wonder if there's ever been a major league staff in the history of baseball that had 2 hitters like Don Mattingly and Barry Bonds on it. Be hard pressed to find that.
Well, that's some high expectations.
Oh, you think?
I mean, when they tell you something, it's not like, well, what have you ever done?
No, it is not. Bonds, of course, grew up around the game. His father, Bobby Bonds, was an outstanding major league player. Many times over an all-star. Bonds, a 14-time all-star. Not only holds Major League Baseball's all-time home run record, he also holds Major League Baseball's record for most home runs in 1 year. In 2001, hit an extraordinary 73 home runs in 1 season. 73.
And he was being pitched around 90% of the time.
In the 2001 year, Barry Bonds was walked 177 times. 3 years later, was walked 232 times. 2-1 pitch to Schebler is popped up. And there's room and foul ground for Prado, and the Reds leave him loaded. End of 1, no score at Great American Ballpark.
storylines, and you'll see Reds hanging in there after the break, playing much better baseball. The Cubs just continue to amaze. Mariners, Blue Jays, and then your Cincinnati Reds at 17-12, a .586 winning percentage, trying to make it 18-12 tonight, their second straight over the Marlins.
It's been very, very impressive for the Reds. You know, you hear the old cliche all the time about teams and the dog days of August and all that kind of thing. And when you know your team's not going to the playoffs, frequently you'll see teams just completely fall apart in every way. The Reds are playing better than they've played during any stretch, certainly nearly a month's worth of games all year long. Derek Dietrich to lead things off against Homer Bailey. Scoreless game in the second inning, 0-2. And you know what the Reds are going to have to figure out, if they continue to play well, and really you're at a point now where it's reasonable to expect the team to play well from now till the end of the year. There's strike 3 called. And Homer Bailey has his first strikeout of the night. You know, Chris, they're going to get better starting pitching because you're going to have Bailey every 5 days, DeSclafani every 5 days. Now there may be some alterations made because guys will hit an innings limit, some of the guys in the rotation, and maybe you want to get a look from some guys that are down at Louisville right now, the Robert Stevensons, the Amir Garretts of the world. That remains to be seen. But does Brian Price and his staff get a lot of the credit for this team getting it turned around, or is it the fact that they have people healthy? Now those are the decisions that, you know, high up the food chain they're going to have to make.
Well, you got to figure that's a little bit of both. I mean, how do you manage around a revolving door of pitchers that were in and out of your bullpen and your starting rotation? This is a lot better idea of what this team could do, you know, because everybody seems to be playing a whole lot better now than he did back in April. We showed you that graphic at the very beginning of the ball game about runs scored per game. Back to back now for Homer.
Just blows away Ichiro. Chased a ball around his neck for strike 3 here. Real Muto, the batter. And I only bring up Brian Price because, as many fans know, perhaps some do not, his contract expires at the end of this season.
Now, sometimes managers in the last year of their contract, you hear rumors here and there, whispers of, well, there's negotiations going on, or perhaps the ball club is beginning to talk about bringing him back. We've not heard a thing one way or another about what Brian Price's status is going to be in 2017. Of course, between this year and next year, the reins of general managership will be turned over entirely from Walt Jocketty to Dick Williams. Walt now the president of baseball operations, I think. Not sure what's going to happen in the front office as we go forward.
3-0 pitch, and there a strike.
So when the Reds say rebuilding, they're really talking about rebuilding in at a number of different levels.
Soft liner to center field, a base hit, second of the game for the Marlins. This one comes with 2 away in a scoreless game in the second inning, and here's Echevarria.
I'll tell you one thing the Marlins do for the most part, they really put the bat on the ball. I mean, the Brewers, when Homer went out and struck out 11 in 6 innings, I mean, he had electric stuff, no doubt about it, but they strike out more than any other team in baseball. But they've got a lot of guys that are, if they're not hitting 300, they're hitting 280 or above.
Well, their team batting average is second best in the league. It's up over 270. So you're right on the nose there. This team can swing the bat. We brought up last night their on base percentage as a club, 5th best in the National League, yet 11th in runs scored. And We talked a little bit about it last night. Those that see them play every day will tell you that, you know, without D. Gordon around, and we saw a prime example last night of what Gordon can do just with his feet. He had an infield hit to lead off the third, stole second, went to third on a ground ball to third, and then scored on a balk. Well, you're not going to do that every night, but D. Gordon tends to do that frequently. So he's been out of the lineup after serving the suspension. And then you have a team that just does not have a lot of thunder, playing in a very big ballpark. Maybe if they played here, you know, Ozuna hits 30 home runs instead of 25.
Well, just the home run that Yelich hit last night.
Sure.
Opposite field home run that he hit. You know, Lenny Harris told me that when he does that in Miami, he comes around third base and hands him his helmet.
Who wants this one? The right fielder Holt the call on the catch. One hit, one left. No score after an inning and a half. Deal between the Marlins and the Padres, 7 players involved. 2 days later, Colin Ray went on the disabled list after making only 1 start. So the Marlins shipped him back to San Diego for one of the players originally in the deal, Luis Castillo. And here you have Cashner, the other big name in that trade. He's made 4 appearances, 3 starts, lost 2, hasn't won a game, and has an earned run average north of 6.5.
It just kind of goes to show you how tight the market was for starting pitching at the trade deadline this year. A lot more teams looking for pitching than they were looking for infielders and outfielders. The interesting thing about that deal, and the Padres have been embarrassed by the way the whole thing has played out. Colin Ray, who came over from the Padres, pitched 1 game for the Marlins, and he was pitching a whale of a game. He was in the 4th inning of a shutout. He had struck out 4 batters, and he simply came out of the game. He pointed to his elbow and said, "That's it."
It's a nice play by Echeverria. A hard hit ball by Tucker, 1 away.
As it turns out, he was taking medicine for a sore elbow that was not disclosed prior to the trade, and he ends up going back to San Diego. He was been recommended to have Tommy John surgery, but has decided, at least at this point, not to have Tommy John surgery, to try to rehab it in other ways. So
that normally does not work. Guys try it, and normally, and I'm not going to say that's the case because I don't know the extent of his injury, but there have been a lot of guys that have tried that.
Well, the one thing they're doing nowadays that they never had before is these PRP injections, which
I've had them.
Okay,
had them in my hand.
More about it than I do.
I know all about it.
And know, that's what they're going to try to do.
I tell you, it's extraordinary stuff. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, you know, they take your own blood out, spin it in a machine, and they inject the platelets back into the area that is injured. And I had a torn plantar fascia over the wintertime and had it done by Dr. Kremchek and company up there at Beacon. And I got to tell you what, it's extraordinary. It's incredible.
So did it work?
I mean, yes. So yes, it did. And strike 3 to Holt.
First strikeout now for Cashner. Now, if you've seen Andrew Cashner before, maybe pitching for the Padres for all those years after all he's 29 years old, you may not recognize him here in a Marlins uniform. I mean, after all, he's clean shaven. Doesn't seem like anybody on that Padre team is. When he came over here, he was told immediately that they have a no facial hair policy here with the Marlins. Don Mattingly decided to put that in when he took over this year. So there are a number of players on the team that had to shave their beards. Left-handed reliever Dunn, Jose Fernandez had to shave his goatee. Cashner had a lot of red beard to shear off. Another look at it right there. And it was all kind of interesting and ironic because if you remember when Don Mattingly played for the New York Yankees, he always had a mustache. In fact, Mattingly was once benched because he wouldn't cut his hair. Do as I say, not as I do.
Marlins fans wondering, where is Adam Duvall? Second straight night not in the starting lineup. Let's take you back to Monday night. Fouled a ball off his foot. He was able to gut it out through the rest of Monday night's game. But after the game, it swelled up big time, had trouble walking. In fact, he was in a walking boot yesterday and today. Brian Price says he knew it was going to be a few days without Duvall's services, but they do not believe it's going to be a DL situation. He is not in the dugout as we speak right now. His availability for tonight's game is in question. We'll know more tomorrow.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. You know, every game here at Great American Ballpark, at the end of the second inning, they recognize veterans. Boy, and how about these two gentlemen right here? James Shaw and Leslie Edwards. Tuskegee Airmen. Of course, that refers to the men and women, African Americans and Caucasians, who were involved in the so-called Tuskegee Experience, the Army Air Corps program to train African Americans to fly and maintain combat aircraft. The Tuskegee Airmen included pilots, navigators, bombardiers, maintenance and support staff, instructors, personnel. Saw an incredible show last year up at Playhouse in the Park about that whole program. Incredible show, and we thank those gentlemen for their service. 1 ball, 1 strike, pitcher against pitcher. And it's in there, a strike, 1-2. You know, I didn't want to give Dr. Kremchek all the credit on that PRP. Dr. Velasquez did mine.
Well,
you know
Dr. Kremchek, I sure do.
He's an awesome guy and a
very
great
smart guy. But Dr. Kremchek would be happy to take the credit
there's no
if you're willing to dish it out.
There's no doubt about that. But I can't forget my main man, Dr. Velasquez. Good man. So hopefully that thing will work out for Colin Ray. That's how we started that whole discussion.
Yeah, you know, and maybe the final note on that is the fact that the PRP injection he's going to get, he's been recommended he needs Tommy John surgery. Well, at this point in the year, if he has Tommy John surgery now, he's going to miss all of 2017 anyway. So the PRP injection, maybe 3 or 4 weeks off, you come back a little bit, you see how your arm feels. And if at that point you want to get TJ surgery, then you go ahead and get it. And you're still going to miss 2017.
That's right. There's strike 3 called. And generally the way those things work, generally, you get the injection, 4 weeks later, you get another. Now, you remember Washington Courthouse's very own former Red All-Star Jeff Shaw.
Sure.
He had the same PRP in the same place that I did. But, of course, him being an athlete, and I'm not, he only needed 1 round from Dr. Velasquez, and he was rolling.
Well, maybe they just gave him the good stuff.
No, he's a real athlete. I mean, he looks better now than when he played.
He does. Oh, he always looked.
Yeah, you're
great.
So a scoreless game. Homer Bailey with 3 strikeouts. All 3 have come over the last 2 innings, and he faces D. Gordon. He led off the game, swung at the very first pitch, and flied out to Rendon in left field. 2-1 to D. Gordon.
Well, the ball coming out of Homer Bailey's hand very easy tonight. Nice easy motion, keep his head still. 94, 95 with what looks like not a lot of effort.
There's a bouncer into right field, a 1-out single by Gordon. So now let the cat and mouse game begin. Gordon, each of the last 2 years, Major League Baseball stolen base leader. He had a stolen base and was also thrown out attempting to steal last night.
On the ground, that's what D. Gordon is trying to do, and he just gets a little roller that goes by the Reds first baseman on the right side of the infield there.
Prado a single into left field, his first time up, and a first pitch fastball, 94 miles per hour in the strike zone. Gordon was suspended for a couple of months, so the stolen base total only at 14 of 19. The last 2 seasons, Gordon has gone 64 and 58.
this is one of those situations right here. If you're D. Gordon, you're wondering, all right, is Homer Bailey going to throw a high fastball here and try to get Prado to chase? Will he bounce a breaking ball in the dirt? He's looking for a breaking ball to try to run on, obviously. 0-2, not always the best count.
What a catch by Phillips. He just started to break towards the second base bag when it looked like Gordon was going to run. And talk about being at the right spot at the right time, but then you got to have the hops to go get it.
That ball still looked like it was on the rise when Brandon Phillips snags it and brings it back.
And for a guy with a bum knee and a bum quad and a bum toe, that's getting up in the air. Here's Yelich. He drove one to the warning track in front of the Reds bullpen his first time up. It was caught by Shevlin. Started two, he did not go around, ball one. Yelich leads all players under the age of 25 in batting average as he checks in tonight at .316. There's some good young players around baseball, and I mean really young when you're under 25. Votto will handle the one hopper, and that's all. A hit, a man left, middle of the third, still no score.
A scene last night in Philadelphia. Chase Utley made his return and had an extended standing ovation before his first at bat. Then he went on to hit not one but two home runs, including a grand slam in his first game back. Longtime Philly. Dansby Swanson, #1 overall pick in 2015, makes his MLB debut tonight. And Jose Altuve, hot like Joey Votto, collected his 1,000th hit last night versus the Cardinals. Fastest to 1,000 hits in Astros history, just 786 games.
Wow. It's pretty good. Top of the order for the Reds. Scoreless game against Andrew Cashner here in the last of the third, and in game 3 of 4 tomorrow night again 7:10. And we'll be with you right here on Fox Sports Ohio with the Reds live. The pregame at 6:30. Our game coverage at 7. And then the Dodgers come calling starting Friday night. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 4-game series as well. And don't forget, after the Dodgers leave, there are still 2 games remaining on this homestand Tuesday and Wednesday night next week against the Texas Rangers, the leaders of the American League's Western Division. So 3 teams consecutively all in the hunt for a postseason spot. Told you the Dodgers are now a first-place team in the West. Giants just continue to really struggle. It's hard to believe because they were so good for so long.
Well, I think if you talk to the Giants people, coaches, and the people that follow them closely, that for a while there they were just keeping it together with duct tape and baling wire. They were playing 4 rookies, kids coming up from AAA that were giving them playing time and way exceeding expectations. But they still have a pretty good pitching staff, and I think that they feel because of that they can hang right in there. Renda with a solid hit.
Told you last night, Renda had 17 stolen bases in the minor leagues this year. He's not attempted a stolen base as of yet in the big leagues. Strike 1 to Kozine, who walked his first time up.
You know, I think the one reason why, there's several reasons why it's so much more difficult to steal in the big leagues than the minor leagues, but one of them is the fact that the scouting is so much better. You know what the tendencies of the runners are. And obviously you have stronger and more consistent throwing arms up here as well. That's a pretty quick move right there, and for a guy who's 6 feet 6 inches tall, that's quick feet for the Marlins right-hander Cashner.
Still 0-2 on Kozine. Leadoff man aboard, scoreless game in the 3rd, and again the 0-2 to Zach is in the air, playable for Yelich, who waves off the center fielder Ozuna. 1 away. Follow the Reds live with MLB.com at bat. That's an app. You can stay apt to the moment at any moment. A game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and so much more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. 1 on, 1 out. And here's Joey Votto. He flied out to the left fielder, his first at bat. Swinging a foul ball out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Joey Votto. Double play ball here should end the inning, and that will take care of the Reds. A leadoff single, but no damage and no score as we head to the 4th. Home field advantage. Chris, first start since August the 7th of 2014 for a guy who likes pitching in this ballpark.
Well, it's really amazing because when you do pitch here, you got to get some run support. And those are the current Red starters run support at Great American Ballpark. Homer Bailey right at the top of the list. Anytime you get more than 5 runs a game, you got a chance to nail down a W. Interesting to hear other teams talk about this park, especially teams that come from ballparks where they play really big, like the Marlins park. I'm not sure there's a park that plays bigger than the Marlins park down in Miami.
Well, traditionally, you know, people have felt that Petco Park would be at the top of that list, but Miami's right there. You know, scientifically, it's been proven the ball travels further, a little bit further, the warmer it is, right? So they've all but eliminated that as a factor in Miami by now putting a dome on, and it's pretty much closed the entire summer.
Well, it travels. I mean, they're right at sea level, obviously.
True. So they're not getting any help from altitude.
Correct.
Three and one to count on Ozuna. And a good 3-1 pitch on the outside corner. Took a little off. Ozuna did not get the heater he was looking for.
3-1 slider on the black. Wow.
That ball tagged into left center field. Will it be enough to get out of here? It is, and that is a home run for Marcell Ozuna. And that'll be his 21st of the year. And, well, right there, Chris, front and center, the difference between playing in Miami and playing in Cincinnati.
That might be a base hit in Miami, maybe a ball that bounces up against the wall, but no way does it leave the yard. Ozuna has been swinging a pretty good bat ever since he got right here into Cincinnati. Gets his foot down, keeps his hands back. And Homer does him a favor, though. He lays that slider pretty much right down Broadway.
It's the first home run given up by Homer Bailey since his season began, spanning 18 innings.
So the Marlins score first in this ball game. They have scored first 71 times now this season, the most a team has scored first in all of baseball.
And last night was one of the rare times where they did not win a game where they scored first. They scored in the opening inning last night. Reds came back with 5 in the bottom of the inning and never looked back. For the Marlins, 47-23 when they score first this season. On Derek Dietrich. Ran a fastball at 94 in, and he fights it off in the count of 2-2. Here's a 2-2 on the way, and it's rolled over. Foul ball. You know, Chris, you were talking about how hard it is to hit home runs in Miami. Let's start with the most homer-friendly parks in baseball this year. Great American right at the top of the list. Safeco is somewhat of a surprise. They've altered that field in recent years. No surprise, Chase Field or Toronto.
Where's Coors Field on that list? I'm a little bit surprised about that.
On swinging Dietrich. All right, now what about the ballparks in the bottom 5? And there you have it, Marlins Park, and look what's missing from there. Petco. Turner Field, of course, that's a home team. It's a pretty weak lineup. AT&T Park is not a surprise in San Francisco, and Kauffman Stadium, again, that's a lineup that's not filled with thunder. But how about that spread between those in the top 5 and those in the bottom 5? That is a staggering differential. Now, you know, you throw in the Reds pitching staff this year. It's not what it's been the last number of years. We're all well aware of that. But when you consider 170 home runs in this ballpark, fewer than 85 hit in Atlanta, that's incredible, that spread.
That is incredible. And given the fact that you think that off that Atlanta pitching staff, they'd be giving up more home runs too.
You're right.
I wonder how the new ballpark will play in Atlanta.
Well, we will find out next season.
Because old, was it Fulton County Stadium before they built Turner Field? That was a launching pad.
Ichiro slaps one just off the glove of the extending Brandon Phillips. That'll be a base hit for Ichiro. He got his first hit in this ballpark ever here last night, late in the game, at 8th triple.
Got a curveball that time after Homer Bailey blew him away on 3 pitches the first time. All high fastballs comes a little differently at him, and Brandon almost snags that.
we remember the story a couple of years ago. Joey Votto underwent, really intense work on learning Spanish so he could converse with many of his Latin teammates. I don't think he's been working on his Japanese. I'm betting that Ichiro has just enough in it. Probably a lot more than he leads on.
It would be an interesting conversation to eavesdrop about hitting between those two.
There he goes. Got a good jump and a broken bat. Good thing, because it looked like Ichiro would have made it safely. Boy, can you believe that's a 40-plus-year-old man, the way he moves. He's always been one of those guys, Chris, a lot of yoga, a lot of the sort of Eastern stretching and philosophy about, how to stay fit. I mean, he's a guy that can, stand up on one leg, extend the other leg straight up in the air, hold it up above his head. Ooh. I mean, when you watch this guy stretch before a game, and he used to do a lot more, for lack of a better term, public stretching. When he'd come out in his Seattle days, I mean, he'd do all that kind of thing almost to appease the fans, and they'd ooh and ah out there in Seattle before the games watching him do it. Not so much anymore.
But you watch his break at first base when we had a shot. I mean, he's just so efficient, too. There's not a lot of wasted movement where arms are flailing, and he's also just very cool. Just a cool guy.
Very cool guy. I mean, he is by far, not by a little bit, of all the players that have come over from Japan, and there have been so many through the last number of decades, he has been by far the most successful player to ever play in Japan and then come to the United States to play Major League Baseball. He is the king. There he goes, and it's ball 4. Well, coming up later on, we'll have our Miller Time moment that is brought to you by Miller Lite. So we invite you to stick around for that. Two on against Bailey, a run home on the home run by Ozuna here in the 4th. They've added a single and a walk in front of Real Muto, who's now at first, and now the number 8 hitter Echevarria, who flying out to right his first time up, looks at ball 1.
Homer now all of a sudden having just a temporary problem of getting a release point on his slider. The slider is what Ozuna hit, a hanger, and he's been unable to kind of catch the corners with the ones that he's trying to throw down just off the plate with the last one.
Bailey has thrown nearly as many pitches in this inning as he did the first 3 innings. Here's a 1-1, and it's hit off the end of the bat. That's fair ball. Homer will get to it and make the tag for the second out. That's a smart play by Bailey. Runners advance to second and third, but the pitcher's coming up.
And maybe not such a smart play by Echeverria at all, because as you run down the baseline, before the player who fields the ball has the ball and makes a play on you, you can swing way around there. He could have gone way outside that right line like this in order to be able to avoid Homer Bailey. You're only out of the baseline when a play is being made on you. That way you at least draw a throw. Could have been an errant throw. Bobbled at some point, and Ichiro comes around to score another run. The more I'm around baseball players, the more I'm convinced, and having been one, a lot of them just don't know the nuances of a lot of the rules.
Well, I think that's true for not only players, but I think it's also true for a lot of coaches and managers.
There's usually one guy on the staff that is a rules freak. Reads everything, watches everything. One guy on the Red staff that really loves it. I mean, Billy Hatcher does, and so does Jim Riggleman. I haven't talked a lot about with Don Long and Mac Jenkins and so on about it, but those two guys I have had conversations, rules conversations with, and they are on top of it. And I'm not saying Brian Price isn't. I'm just saying I've had more conversations with Riggleman. There's Jim and Billy Hatcher about him, and not a lot gets by them.
See the breakdown. 68th pitch of the game coming up for Homer Bailey. Second and third. He needs an out here. Final out in the inning and keep it a 1-0 game. It's 1-1 to Cashner, who struck out looking his first time up. He has 3 hits in 23 at bats on the year. One ball, 2 strikes. Bailey tries to end the 4th, and look out, off the railing right in front of the Reds dugout. One ball, 2 strikes, and a fastball is high.
Pretty good job right there by Cashner, not chasing that pitch. Drop a little slider on him right here, and you probably get your pass back into the dugout.
Three balls, 2 strikes. And Cashner making Homer work out there. Yet to be able to put him away, and the pitches are piling up for Bailey now. At number 75 coming up, and we're just in the 4th inning. This will be the 9th pitch in this at bat.
Well, he started out first few innings so efficient. He was throwing strikes, and the Marlins were swinging early.
Cashner helping Bailey there. That appeared to be out of the strike zone, but would have been ball 4. Still 3-2. And that'll do it. Bailey puts him away. So after all that, it's just a solo home run and a 1-0 Marlins lead.
'84, Peter Edward Rose made his return to the Reds as player-manager, and as fate would have it, it was almost as if the Cincinnati baseball gods willed that ball through Dernier. And Pete, he could have gone into third base standing, but of course, head first slide. Pete Rose style. He went 2 for 4 that night, drove in a couple of runs in a 6-4 victory over the Cubs, and those that were in attendance at Riverfront Stadium was shaken. They were going crazy so much. And nowadays, it's nice to see that number 14 finally hanging up.
Sure is. You know, Jim, it's funny you say about Riverfront Stadium shaking. I frequently recall a conversation in 1999 after the Reds went to a 1-game playoff where they were shut out by Al Leiter and the New York Mets. The Mets flew after the game that night to Arizona, where they would open the National League Division Series against the Diamondbacks. Went into Bobby Valentine's office before the game, the manager of the Mets at that time, and asked him about the game the day before. And he said, in all my years of baseball, and you're talking about a guy who managed a long time in the major leagues, also spent a lot of time in Japan, so he's traveled all over the world. He said Riverfront Stadium that night was by far the loudest ballpark he had ever been in.
Well, that was the game, if you remember, that when they, of course, it was an emergency game, a 1-game play-in. Reds lost in Milwaukee the day before. They had to play that game on the Monday, I believe it was, and it sold out in less than an hour, right?
Well, if you remember, they had to play. They played very late Sunday night because of rain in Milwaukee.
Right.
So they didn't even know until after 11:30, 12 o'clock if they were going to even have to play the game. So you're right.
And I'm not even sure whether they were even selling tickets over the internet then. There may have been phone call tickets where you could buy them over the phone, but most of them were at the ticket window.
You know, that's a good question. I bet you they weren't selling them over the internet then. One ball and 2 strikes on Brandon Phillips. Reds down 1-0 last of the 4th inning. Phillips reached on an error by the third baseman Prado his first time up. Suarez to follow, and then Schebler. Reds had him loaded in the first inning, and that's been the only threat through 3 against Cashner. Only one other base runner. In the air, left center field, pretty well hit, and that ball is in and out of the mid of Ozuna. And Brandon will cruise into second base. Ozuna went a long way and nearly made the catch.
Well, Brandon hit it a long way, I'll tell you that, for a guy that's been sitting the bench the last couple of days with sore knees. He's made already a sterling defensive play, and he thinks he's got all of that one, but not sure. A changeup that Cashner throws, it just kind of hangs right up there just below the belt.
Runner at second. That's a tying run out there, and let's see if the Reds can get Brandon in.
I do know this: if you were buying your tickets in 1999 on the internet, you were using that old dial-up modem.
Yeah, they made all the funny noises.
Yeah. And your cell phone was probably the size of your carry-on bag.
Reds getting their second hit of the game off of Cashner. He walked 2 in the first inning, has not walked a batter since. That's high to Suarez, 2-1. He walked to load the bases in front of Schebler in the first inning.
Really, the matchup of pitching that we have tonight is somewhat interesting in as much as it's a couple of former #1 draft picks. The Chicago Cubs picked Cashner out of TCU in 2008. Of course, Homer Bailey was drafted #1 by the Reds out of high school in 2004. So Cashner a year older. They're both from Texas. Cashner from Conroe, Texas. And he grew up on a ranch, a small ranch anyway, but a young man that learned to become a expert at horseback riding, calf roping. He was involved in the local 4-H and the Future Farmers of America. Out of high school, he was drafted by the Atlanta Braves, but he decided instead to go to Angelina College and then went on to Texas Christian University.
And of course, Homer grew up on a ranch.
He did.
On a chicken farm.
Yes, he did. In LaGrange. Actually, LaGrange and Conroe, Texas, really not all that far apart. It doesn't appear to be. So you wonder, just being 1 year apart, whether they had ever heard of each other.
Well, I bet you they heard of one another. That's hooked down the left field line. This is going to tie the game. One hops the wall. Back-to-back doubles by Brandon and Suarez. 1-1 game here in the fourth.
He's been on base twice so far tonight. Eugenio Suarez has a slider that he just goes out and gets that puppy and hits it very hard. Really good low ball hitter.
Let's see Schebler, who 2 nights ago snapped an 0 for 28 stretch. clubbed a home run to straightaway center field. And then last night had singles in each of his first 3 times up. Scored a run, had a single to left and a pair of singles to center. Slightly into left center, and there is a diving play, but it will advance a runner on third with 1 out. So a productive out by Schebler, and the Reds have the lead run 90 feet away. If a Red hits that Toyota side way out there in right center field during our game tonight, Lauren Manello of Florence, KY will win that beautiful new Tundra on display here at the ballpark. You can register for your chance to win. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. They're going to intentionally walk Tucker Barnhart. You saw the damage he's capable of last night. They're well aware that he's in the midst of a 12-game hitting streak. So they're going to put him on and try and go after Holt. Holt struck out his first time up.
But Barnhart, you know, I think the memory of that grand slam home run going into the stands last night still searing into their brain. And they're also setting up a chance for a double play ball to get out of the inning if he puts the ball on the ground. If Barnhart puts the ball on the ground, chances are you're going to score a run. Here you get a chance to turn 2 and get out of the inning.
It's the 6th time of the 27 times Barnhart has been walked that he's been intentionally walked. And of course, the overwhelming majority of those were batting as an 8th place hitter in front of the pitcher. Tonight batting 7th. So here is Tyler Holt with a chance to give his team the lead.
Very typical first pitch when you're looking for a ground ball double play. 2-seam fastball down and into a right-hander. If he hits it, chances are he hits it on the ground to the third baseman.
Probably come back in there again. Yeah, they're set up there. And a soft pop-up, shallow center field. Ozuna makes a catch, and he'll throw it back in a line to the catcher, and that's the 2nd out of the inning, and the pitcher coming up.
You really couldn't decide what to do right there if you're Suarez at third base. When he saw Ozuna on the run, he went a couple of steps off the base because he figured, well, if he drops it, I'm going to want to be able to score right here. But it was no easy can of corn. If you read this as the outfielder going to catch it all the way you go back, and then he realized, boy, that's going to fall in there. As it turned out, it was much too shallow to try to tag up on anyway.
It'll be up to Homer Bailey if the Reds are going to score another run to take the lead here in the inning. They've scored 1. We're tied at 1. Bailey tapped out to the pitcher his first time up. He has 1 hit in 8 at bats. And a bouncer to the right side will be handled by Dietrich, and that's all for the Reds. They do tie the game. 1-1. We go to the 5th. Perez, of course, his number retired in Reds franchise history, number 24, and one of his two boys, Eduardo, after a successful major league career as a player, not the career obviously of his Hall of Fame father, but I tell you what, he is carving out an outstanding career now as a television announcer, both announcing the Marlins local games as well as for ESPN. Look at that beautiful sky.
Does a great job at it too. Eduardo does. Of course, he speaks fluent Spanish, so gives him a chance to really get some insight that a lot of English-only speaking announcers don't. You may not know this, but he and I are batting cage buddies. When he was back with the Reds, part-time player mostly, he used to always ask me to throw batting practice him in the cage, but I wouldn't just throw batting. He wanted to play games in the cage, so I'd move up. I was into my 40s, so I'd move up 4 or 5 feet, and we would play games. I would not tell him what was coming. We'd say that's a hit, that's a ground ball, that's a pop-up, that's strike 3. And we would end up arguing about that would be fair or that would be foul, or no, I had the shortstop playing there. We do that for 20 minutes every other day. It was a great time.
Well, he's a great kid. So is his brother Victor. And of course, proverbial apple doesn't fall far from the tree. His mom and dad, they don't come any finer than that. I remember growing up as a little kid and having the privilege of being able to come to the ballpark pretty regularly. And, two of the wives of Reds players at that time were two of the great personalities. And, man, you couldn't get any further apart as far as personalities go. How about Phillips? Oh, my goodness, what a play by Phillips. That was D. Gordon hustling up the line. That's as good a play as you'll find in baseball right there. Considering who hit the ball and who's running, that is a sensational play.
I'd imagine that once Homer Bailey saw this ball go over his glove, he said, no way. And then Brandon Phillips shows up. Man, oh man. Add that to the highlight reel.
You're not kidding. And it's a long reel. That is just a great play.
That's great camera work, too, to get Brandon's reaction at the very end of that play. Guy just sat out 2 games in a row because his legs are sore. I mean, not just sore from being tired.
Yeah, he's got injured. He did not win the Gold Glove, as you know, last year. And we'll see how it all plays out this year, but he's still making all the plays and then some. 1-2 on Prado. Two on Martin Prado. To finish that thought, we were talking about the 2 players' wives who just had larger than life personalities back during the Big Red Machine. We always talk about the players, but their spouses were Carolyn Rose and Patuca Perez. And they got along beautifully. I mean, you couldn't be any more different, but they got along beautifully. But their personalities just spread around that entire home plate area where all the families would sit. And back in those days, that's what a lot of the players had. Big families. They were married young, had a number of children. Kids were all over the place. You really don't see that much anymore. You know, you take a look at this Reds team, for example. There are very few of the players that are on the field right now that are married. If they are, their children are extremely young because of the youth of this Reds team. And that's really the way the game of baseball has gone, younger and younger and younger every year. There's a 2-out knock by Yelich into center field. So now Ozuna touched up Bailey for a solo home run just 1 inning ago. We're tied at 1. Strike 1. Pretty nice play down there.
That's by our good friend Justin Jemison. Hanging down there, the camera. Well, really right over the Reds dugout, but back, of course, between the first and second deck.
You know, he attempted to make a play last night. There goes a runner. Throw down to second is not going to be in time. Stolen base for Yelich.
17 of them now for him.
Yeah, he can run a little bit.
He had 21 last year. Oh, excuse me, 6 this year. He had 16 last year. Thanks for correcting me. I read the wrong row. That's a great shot right there of how easy it would be for a runner to jam his fingers on the bag. I mean, you can see him really keep his fingers up, but while you keep your fingers up, the bottom of your hand is scraping along the dirt. No gloves, no protection.
One and one the count on Ozuna. Go ahead, run at second base here in the 5th. That one spun up there at 80 miles per hour, and Ozuna nearly spun himself into the ground.
Well, the 2 strikes in this at bat to Marcell Ozuna. First pitch was a split finger fastball. This is a curveball. He's got him way out in front of that one.
Came back with a ball that is grounded to Suarez and right by him into left field. That'll bring in the go-ahead run, and that'll be an error on Suarez. The Marlins own a 2-1 lead.
In fact, the ball just stayed down on it. We saw a bad hop on Martin Prado early in the ball game, a ball that came up on him, the Marlins third baseman. That one just stayed down on Suarez.
So a 4th out in this inning given to the Marlins, and here's Dietrich, who struck out looking and struck out swinging. 0 for 2. '95th pitch of the game coming up for Bailey, and with that in mind, Josh Smith begins to warm up in the Reds bullpen. Marlins have taken a 2-1 lead here in the top of the 5th. And they'll add to that. Ooh, just foul, thankfully. Boy, Dietrich had the read on that. He thought that was going to stay fair. Still looking down there. Talked about Dietrich, grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, where he was born and raised. And then attended Georgia Tech University. He is struck out for the 3rd time. Marlins score an unearned run off Bailey and lead by a run midway through it.
Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further, and by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together.
It's turned into a really nice night for baseball here after so much rain earlier today. Starting in the very early morning and right through the middle of the day, and then all of a sudden the skies cleared up. And they're getting better by the minute. Expecting to have great weather tomorrow and Friday. Come on down to the ballpark. One more to go in this series, and the Dodgers come in starting Friday night.
Well, Cashner pitched out of a pretty good jam his last inning. Then the 4th, the Reds scored a run, but they had a chance to score a lot more until he was able to wiggle it out by finally getting Homer Bailey to ground out to the first baseman. The one thing about Andrew Cashner, whenever you're a #1 draft pick, whether it be high school or college, and you're a pitcher, chances are you're one of the harder throwers around. And his delivery has always been one where, you know, he pushes off fine, but that front side when he lands is just a little wobbly. There's not really a firm front side where you get your leg down and you can really pull down with the baseball. And that's the one thing I imagine that, you know, you can't do a whole lot with a pitcher who's coming over here only for a couple of months. He's a rented pitcher essentially because he will be a free agent. But you want him to be as efficient as possible. And I know that's one thing the Marlins are trying to figure out with Andrew Cashner, is just how to get him to be most efficient. And part of that is to have a firm front side, especially a firm front leg when you land. You don't want it to wobble. You don't want it to bow out.
Well, he walks Brenda after his team just took the lead for a second time. It's his fourth walk in the game. Cheer on the Reds. They take on the Dodgers this weekend, and thanks to Reach Magazine, you can catch all the action and save with the 4 for $48 ticket offer. That's where you get 4 view-level tickets. 4 Reds hats for $48. Where are you going to beat that? Cozart 0 for 1 has drawn a walk and popped up to the left fielder Yelich. That's Rendon on base now for the second time in 3 plate appearances. Had a single back in the third. Rendon's had a chance by reaching first base in that third inning to get a look at Cashner and what he has to offer as far as his move and that kind of thing. And we pointed out that this guy's been more than capable of stealing some bases for you in his minor league career. Two and two on Cozart. This will be a double play here. And the bases are empty with 2 away in the inning. Second big double play rolled up tonight. 1 for each side. And 2 of them now for Cashner. Well, we invite you to get Reds action started 30 minutes before every game. All the information you need to know on Reds Live right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And it's always presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. We look at the probables tomorrow. The main man for these Marlins, flame-throwing young right-hander all the way back from surgery, Jose Fernandez. But don't look now. Dan Straley has become among the better pitchers in the National League so far this year. After being released in spring training, Reds picked him up. A couple of games in the bullpen, into the rotation by the end of April, and has the 4th lowest opponent's batting average against among all National League pitchers. Votto shoots one into left center. It's his first hit tonight.
Well, just a controlled swing. Look at the head, straight up and down, his eyes right on the baseball. Boy, that ball right on the sweet spot. Votto's one of those guys that will take essentially a neutral stride. Lifts his foot up, but he puts it back down in the exact same spot he starts.
And Votto just keeps hitting and hitting and hitting. He had that career high 17 gamer just snapped a couple of weeks ago in St. Louis. And now a new one started at 9 straight. Here's Phillips, who's reached on an error, doubled, and scored the only Reds one. 2-1 Marlins last of the 5th inning. 0-2 on Phillips, and a roller to the shortstop, and that's it for the Reds in the 5th. Couple of base runners, but a big double play ball. 2-1 Marlins at the end of 5. Summary, we begin in the 4th inning. Ozuna played long ball on that breaking ball from Homer Bailey. Ozuna, number 21. In the bottom of the 4th inning, however, the Reds had back-to-back doubles. Brandon Phillips with one, and then down the left field line, Suarez to play Brandon. Reds had a chance to add to that run total in the inning, but couldn't come up with a big base hit or a sac fly. In the 5th, a miscue defensively at 3rd base, allowing Yelich to score with 2 outs. And that's where we stand as we go to the 6th inning, and the night is over for Homer Bailey. 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He'll give way to Josh Smith.
Josh Smith has been a guy really kind of a surprise, I think, after coming up last year, having some starts as somewhat of emergency starts based on the status of the Reds starting rotation when they needed him. But he's had a solid year, although the earned run average, I mean, when you're pitching 34 innings, earned run average doesn't represent enough innings to give you a good sample, but he's throwing the ball very well. Not overpowering, but a good slider that he likes to throw on the first base side of home plate.
Ichiro Suzuki to begin things. He is struck out and singled. .305 career hits here in the United States for Ichiro. And we brought up last night, you combine his hits at the highest level of baseball in Japan prior to coming to America. He had 1,278 there. So 4,283 hits. He's getting a lot more playing time than he probably signed on for after the injury to Giancarlo Stanton. But they're counting on him now.
Well, they need him now. And there are some that are going to say that they'll score more runs with Ichiro in there than they would with Stanton. Stanton very streaky. He went through a horrendous slump earlier in the year. But I think they'd still like to have him as that right-handed threat.
Oh, sure. He only had an on-base percentage of .329. Had 25 home runs, but a .244 batter was Stanton. And he had struck out 131 times in 381 at bats. Smith walks the first batter he faces here in the 6th inning. We'll enjoy a fun day at the ballpark on Saturday, September the 3rd. We'll have a special post-game concert presented by Budweiser featuring country music artist Chase Rice, one of country music's rising stars. And there is a special on-field pass package for as low as $32. So come on down. Purchase today at Reds.com/Chase Rice. See if they can turn this over and get the fleet running catcher. And you can see he gets up that line. You brought it up last night, Chris. He can run pretty well.
Well, it was a good pitch by Josh Smith because he swung a miss on a slider his last time. He came with it this time. So Real Muto makes the adjustment but makes contact and just hits it on the ground. Simply not hard enough. And you're right about him getting down the line.
Well, he has the second most stolen bases on this team behind D. Gordon does Real Muto, 11 of 14.
But I'll show you what an athlete Real Muto was in high school. And he grew up in Del City, Oklahoma. But his high school won state titles. And he was a shortstop on the baseball team and the quarterback on the football team.
Pretty good.
Occasionally they would put him behind the plate from shortstop when the regular catcher was called on to pitch. And that's when a Marlins scout saw him. And they asked him, well, would you be interested in playing catcher professionally? And that's where it all began for JT Real Muto. Jacob Tyler, if you're wondering. What a night.
It's turned into a really nice night. Oh, good slow breaking ball there at 75 miles per hour. 1-2 on Echevarria.
You know, Smith doesn't throw too many of those slow ones, but there's an old saying in baseball that you should have 2 speeds on your curveball. That's before they called one of them a slider. And he's got both of them.
Back with that same breaking ball. Now the Marlins have Cashner standing in the on-deck circle. We're in the top of the 6th inning. 1 on, 1 out in a 2-1 ball game. Marlins have action in their bullpen, so they don't have to send Cashner up there, and I'm sure that decision will rest directly on the result of this at bat to Adeiny Echevarria. Dunn, the left-hander, ready. popped up. Cozart backpedals a handful of paces, and that'll be the second out of the inning. So what do you do here with Cashner? He's wondering. Looks into the dugout. Don Mattingly says, go ahead and hit. What were your impressions of Homer Bailey tonight in his fourth start?
Well, not nearly as overpowering as he was his last time out against the Milwaukee Brewers, but still I thought he threw the ball well. I mean, you still have to remind yourself that Homer Bailey's coming back from an really extended layoff. Guy will battle you, and I mean his arm obviously feels good because he was throwing hard and he had pretty good control. He gave up a couple of runs, one of them unearned in 5 innings, and not bad at all.
Should have been a 1-run night for Bailey. Total.
Now the Marlins worked him. I mean, that's the only reason he's not in the game right now. It was all about pitch count. Did that ball clip Cashner before it went straight back? I'm wondering about that. He went down on one knee after he got a couple of steps out of the batter's box.
Yep.
It got him on the ear. He ought to have one of those Bronson Royal helmets on. He's checking his lip, actually.
Got him in the jaw. You could read his lips right there. Got him in the jaw. Got to make sure you hear that TMJ click about 4 times, and then yeah, right back at him. It's the old adage about
like you've
football.
been there.
I've been there. That's the old adage about, you know, where you put up the fingers. The old adage about football before concussions became a big deal. Coach holds up 2 fingers. How many am I holding? I'm holding up 4. Go get them. Nothing funny about that anymore. One ball and 1 strike on Cashner. He'll stay in and takes a strike on the outside corner. All right, let's see if Smith can end this top of the 6th inning. He will. Beautiful breaking ball, and that'll end the inning. A walk, a man left. Suarez to lead it off. Reds behind by a run.
See the USA Reds t-shirt thanks to Toyota. You can see the Reds and Dodgers for only $12 and get that t-shirt. For tickets, call 5133-81-REDS or visit reds.com. All right, this is a very cool promotion right here. It's called Swing for Your Seats. If you are a current season ticket holder and you'd like to renew those tickets, or if you're a prospective season ticket buyer for the 2017 season, on Saturday, October 8th, you can literally swing for your seats. Each participant will receive 3 pitches from the Great American Ballpark mound. You get 3 hacks at it. If you hit 1 out of the ballpark, you get your season tickets for free. 513-765-7500 or Reds.com/swing. No truth to the rumor that Chris Welsh will be pitching. It will be a pitching machine.
Yes, it will.
They couldn't afford it. I mean, we'd have a full house every night, but nobody would be paying anything.
Reds down 2-1. Suarez to start things against Andrew Cashner here in the bottom of the 6th inning. 2 runs, 6 hits for Miami. 1 run, 4 hits, and 1 big error, which allowed the Marlins to take the lead 2-1 in the 5th inning. 2-1. Smash by Suarez. He has his 2nd double. 3rd time he's been on base tonight. Good way to get it started here in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Yeah, this could be a real interesting inning because Don Mattingly made a decision that he was going to go ahead and let Cashner hit, end the inning with a strikeout. And you're going to send him back out there. Cashner looked back and wasn't sure whether he was going to be left to stay in the ball game. And so the leadoff hitter gets a double, and Don Mattingly will make a slow walk out to the mound to make a call to the bullpen.
So this will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Mike Dunn going to take over on the mound for Cashner, who goes 5+ in his 4th start as a Marlin.
Is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, leadoff man, a double by Suarez. He's a tying run at 2nd base, and our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen brings in the left-hander Mike Dunn to face a left-handed batting Scott Shevlin.
Hard throwing Mike Dunn. He throws in the mid-90s. He's got a slider that he throws as well. That's really pretty much his main 2 pitches. Been around a while, Dunn has.
Yeah, there was a time, I don't know about you, Chris, when I thought this guy was going to end up being a long-time pretty good closer. Just never happened.
But he came up with the Yankees 2009, and that spot was already taken. Yeah. But he did move around. He went to Atlanta, and then when he was 26, he came over here to the Marlins.
That ball's off the end of the bat. Soft liner into right center field, and the runner unable to tag. Again, that's Suarez. He went in that same predicament you may remember at third base.
Well, you remember, I've said it before, but I guess it's worth repeating that as a base runner, you're always taught that if it's a can of corn and you see the outfielder camping under it, go back and tag up. If you have a question as to whether that ball might fall in or not, you go halfway. Because if it does fall in, you want to be to the point where you can be far enough so that you're going to score on it if it drops in front of them. And that's just one of those tweeners.
So they forced Tucker Barnard to turn around to bat right-handed. And Tucker takes up and in for ball one.
I think the reason you liked Dunn when you first saw him is that he was one of those left-handed pitchers that threw exceptionally hard.
Yes.
Whereas most relievers were kind of junk ballers. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And because of that, they think that he's good at getting right-handers out as well, left-handers. So he's not really always one of those guys that would pitch only to one hitter.
And roughly 25% of the at-bats total that he's had from the left side is a right-handed batter. Barnhart, a .242 average, 2 of his 7 home runs, and a lot lower on base percentage. And he is behind 1 and 2. Tying run out there at second base for the Reds. And a 1-2 pitch. Muscled to the right side. That'll be the second out of the inning, sending Suarez on to third. And now it'll be up to Tyler Holt. Holt had a chance with the go-ahead run at the time in a 1-1 game in the 4th inning to give the Reds a lead. He had Suarez at third with 1 away, but he popped up to very shallow center field. And Cashner would retire Bailey for the final out of the inning. Marlins would take the lead immediately in the top of the 5th. And now the tying run for the Reds at third in the last of the 6th. Pitchers 5 due up next. You see Evande Jesus Jr. standing in the on-deck circle. Reds are hoping he can get a chance to step up there and bat here in the bottom of the 6th. 1-1 on Holt, who was struck out looking and had that fly ball to shallow center. Two and two on Holt. a soft liner to first will end the inning. So the Reds strand the tying run 90 feet away. We're off to the 7th in a 2-1 ball game.
Two big games on back-to-back days. First on Friday, the Bronx Bombers clash with Mike Trout and the Angels at 9:30 Eastern. And on Saturday, the Mets battle Buster Posey and the Giants at 3:30 Eastern. You can watch both games live on Fox Sports Go.
It's a good series and weekend series between the Mets and the Giants. Both of those teams, at least right now anyway, duking it out in the wild card, or at least as of last night when the Dodgers leapfrogged the Giants for the top spot in the National League West. Giants lost again earlier today. They've lost 4 in a row. So Josh Smith begins his 2nd inning of work. Walked the leadoff man in the 6th inning. Got a ground ball to pop up in a strikeout, no damage. 2-1 ball game. Marlins in front. D. Gordon is 1 of 3. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike to the Florida second baseman.
You know, it just must be a lot harder than it appears to be, which is, I'm talking about laying a bunt down to the right side of the infield if you're a left-handed hitter. I mean, because Joey Votto in this entire series has never even come in 1 step. I mean, he's playing very deep at first base. He's been there the whole series. I mean, you figure with D. Gordon's speed, he's got a lot of room over there, and never once has he even indicated that he would think about that.
Gordon robbed of a hit on a spectacular play made by Brandon Phillips back in the 5th inning. Cashner goes 5+, allows 5 hits and 1 run. Dunn comes in to take care of 3 batters in a row after a leadoff double that chased Cashner in the bottom of the 6th inning. 2-2 on Gordon. Reds missing a lot of weapons in their lineup right now. You don't have Duvall. He's your team leader in home runs and runs batted in. You don't have Billy Hamilton playing better than he's played at any time in his major league career. And of course, you've been without that guy for a long time in Devin Mesoraco. Well, the Reds' intention is still to have Mesoraco come back as their everyday regular catcher next year. Now, that's the plan. But I would imagine, and you've got some smart people in baseball operations, a lot of them. I would imagine that there has to be some sort of plan B for Mesoraco if for some reason, as that's the first out of the inning, his body will not allow him to catch moving forward.
Well, they thought with Mesoraco that they had an everyday catcher and a middle of the order hitter, a guy that was going to hit a lot of home runs, drive the ball, drive in a lot of runs, maybe be that right-handed slugger that would bat in between Joey Votto and Jay Bruce. Hopefully he comes back and regain that stroke.
You may remember last year, before he had the original hip surgery, they were experimenting around during batting practice and even a game or two down in Louisville of Devin Mesoraco making the transition to the outfield. I mean, Billy Hatcher was out there for hours and actually, like it was a live game, we would sit up here and watch Devin take plays in left field while guys were taking BP and going to get the ball, fly balls and line drives, so forth.
Yeah, the injury sidelined him last year. Never really was himself, even when he played. He only played 23 games. But in 2014, an All-Star, 25 home runs and 80 runs driven in.
But if I'm not mistaken, that year he also had 2 stints on the disabled list. He just barely over 100 games that year, if I remember right.
114 games. Not enough at bats to win the batting title, if you want to put it that way.
3-1 on Martin Prado. And a fastball is high and inside, ball 4, second walk given up by Smith. Now Prado not much of a base stealing threat, only 2 attempts, 1 up, 1 down.
No, but the next 2 hitters in the lineup are dangerous. Yelich has hit a home run opposite field, did that last night. Ozuna has hit one tonight. He hit one on the first night.
Pulled foul. Yelich singled, stole second base, and scored on the error by Suarez. And that broke a 1-1 tie in the 5th inning. Jumped all over that pitch, but way out in front of him. 85-mile-per-hour slider there from Smith to get ahead 0-2. One and 2 to Christian Yelich, and he chased one up. I don't know what it was. It didn't look like it moved at all. It just stayed up in the strike zone at 85 miles per hour.
No, I think he had him velocitized, meaning that he had pulled those 2 breaking pitches hard foul, and then Smith just went upstairs, although it was a slider. That's one of those backup sliders that you wish you could throw at will. It just hangs up high enough to get an out of it. That comes down just a little bit. That's a 2-run bomb.
So now Ozuna, one more big out to go. This guy is dangerous indeed. Chris mentioned he's homered in each of the, or or 2 of the 3 games in this series. Homered in game 1. Hit a ball that nearly left the yard to the deepest part of left center field last night, and then homered to left center in the 4th inning tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike on Marcell Ozuna. One ball, 1 strike. Runner at first. Marlins with a 2-1 lead, and really not even taking a lead over there is Prado. We told you that he is virtually no threat to run. You know, the thing they're trying to figure out about Ozuna is how a guy this strong and this powerful, and a guy who shows you stretches of racking up a lot of extra base hits, but then he'll go through stretches where he doesn't get any extra base hits, and I mean literally none. He had a double this past Sunday. He had gone 11 consecutive games without an extra base hit. He's had stretches as long as 15 games. 2-2 the count. This is a guy you bat and cleanup.
Well, he's still a young guy. I mean, he's batting cleanup, but he's only 25 years old. Same age as Eugenio Suarez, for instance. He's had more playing time at the major leagues. He was an all-star this year, Ozuna was.
Well, yes, what, 46 extra base hits now. Suarez has 34 extra base hits this season. 19 of those home runs.
You'll probably see a slider here on a 3-2 count. I would imagine Smith feels like he could throw that for a strike.
And a broken bat roller to Kozar. And Smith has put together a couple of scoreless innings in relief. His spot due to lead off. Then back to the top of the order in the 7th with the Reds down a run.
To join Mo Egger from 700 WLW for the Reds fan cam this Friday night at the Holy Grail. It's your chance to answer Reds trivia, win great prizes, and you could be a part of Reds Live. The party starts at 6 this Friday at the Holy Grail. Some doings on the field right now. Reds down a run, and look who's in the on-deck circle. In fact, Don Mattingly is making a pitching change as we speak.
So they were waiting for the Reds to announce the pinch hitter, and I got to tell you, the Reds had already made the decision to send Hamilton out there, so it's going to be Hamilton. You're not going to burn him. As they make the pitching change, we'll step out. Reds will come to bat in the 7th, trailing 2-1. Back in a moment. Well, here's a good-looking young pitcher in this Marlins bullpen who takes over on the mound. He's not allowed to run in 18 of his last 22 games, and that's Nick Whitgreen. Whitgreen, a right-hander, fouled out of play.
He grew up in Lafayette, Indiana, and ended up going to do his college work at Purdue in West Lafayette. Marlins picked him up in the 9th round just 2012, and in 2013 he had such a good year in the minor leagues as a reliever. He was named the minor league reliever of the year in all of the minor leagues by Baseball America. And you're right about that. He is a very good looking young pitcher, just 25 years old in his first major league season.
Well, you know what he does, maybe the best in all of baseball, and it's a stat that is certainly not overlooked by those that are in the game, but you know, we don't talk a lot about it up here, is when you come into a game and runners are on base, do you leave them there stranding runners on base? Well, he's inherited 21 runners and has stranded 19 of the 21. Now that's not the case here. 2-2 on Billy Hamilton.
You know where they use that stat a lot is people who really crunch the baseball numbers feel that stat is a luck factor stat for the pitcher that leaves the runners on base. So say a starter that leaves the game with a few runners on, you bring in a guy that leaves them on base, and that left on base percentage goes way up. And if it's really high and higher than the norm, they say, well, he's lucky that those runners haven't been gassed in by the relief team. But if you have a guy like Whitgren out there,
seems like a lot of stuff comes down to luck, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I mean, just look at me.
If you believe that.
Yeah. I mean, I get to sit next to you every night.
Well, that's bad luck. But I mean, a lot of times when we talk about some of these numbers and diving into the numbers crunchers, you know, it seems like frequently you're bringing up that word luck a lot.
Well, if you believe that everything trends back to the norm, you say this year the guy was lucky with the number of runners that were stranded on base versus last year.
No chance once you have a hard time finding the handle. So he was unlucky there. because he picked it up and then it squirted out of his hand. And he happened to have a fast guy running, which was unlucky for him and very lucky for Hamilton.
Well, Hamilton, even with the bruise on his knee that he sustained by running into the wall the other night, getting down the line and putting the pressure on the Marlins here. So the pinch hitting opportunity has paid off here so far for the Reds. It'd be interesting to see what Brian Price does here now. You have the leadoff hitter Renda up there. Do you steal Hamilton here and then bunt him to third? Do you let Renda hit away all along?
Well, let's take a look. We know Renda can bunt. We've seen that already, but we know Hamilton can really run. That's pretty quick delivery to the plate right there. Very short stride. 0-1 to Renda. He takes a long look down to the third base coach, Billy Hatcher. Billy Hamilton, the major league leader, 51 stolen bases. Not going, and the bunt early squaring around there was Renda, and he pulls about away a ball and a strike.
That's nearly a slide step every time. So they, the opposition has not even attempted a stolen base this year on Wittgren.
Hamilton measures his lead a little further, not running, and the bunt is perfect by Renda. That is so nicely done. That'll be a sacrifice. And the Reds have the tying run in scoring position.
Must be comforting for Brian Price to know that when you call on somebody to lay a bunt down, he's going to get the bunt down. Look how he really bends at the knees to go down to get that. The angle of the bat doesn't change. He doesn't drop his bat head. When he wants to lower the bat to get down there, he bends his knees. That is perfect form.
And now a chance for Cozart. Tying run at second base. Reds have had the tying run in scoring position in, well, 2 of the last 3 innings. In fact, they had the go-ahead run in scoring position back in the 4th. Zach in the game has drawn a walk, popped up to short left, and after a leadoff walk to Renda in the 5th inning, he grounded into a 6-4-3 double play. Those are 46 runs batted in. See the numbers with runners in scoring position this season. Straight up in the air will be the second out. So you got to believe they're going to walk Votto here and take their chances with Brandon Phillips. Although we'll see. Real Muto looking inside that Marlins dugout, and they've already given the signal they will intentionally pass the hottest hitter in the league.
Well, Don Mattingly knows a little bit about the intentional walk. I would say that both the guys we talked about earlier, the manager and the batting coach, Mattingly was intentionally walked 136 times in his career. Bonds, I can't even imagine what that number is.
You need a calculator to get to that number.
688, the all-time major league leader.
Yes.
600.
And that happened in about a 4.5, 5-year time frame.
Well, he was intensely walked one year 120 times.
That was a year I think he walked 230-something times.
Now, see, now, if Bonds was still playing, you really could shorten games by just waving him on to first base.
Yeah. Davis, the pitching coach, huddles everybody up, the entire Marlins infield along with the battery before this crucial at bat for each side. Reds have the tying run. Billy Hamilton out at second base. They have the go-ahead run, Joey Votto at first, and Brandon Phillips the batter. He's reached on an error, stole a base, doubled, scored, and grounded out. Phillips this season has been at his best with runners in scoring position. His overall batting average is .282. In such situations, he hits .333. One ball, one strike. Nowhere near the strike zone, overthrew that fastball. 2 balls and a strike. Suarez has had an excellent night at the plate. Pair of doubles and RBIs, also drawn a walk. He also has committed the error that gave the Marlins this 1-run lead. Perhaps a chance to avenge that in this inning. And he's a ball away from doing just that. 3-1 on Brandon. Big pitch right here for Phillips and the Reds. 3-1 delivery. Driven into right center field, hit hard, and it's going to go to the wall and score 2 runs. Brandon Phillips has delivered the goods all year long. When given a chance, he does it again tonight. Reds lead by a run.
Well, he worked the pitcher into a hitter's count, and Wickard had to come right in there or else load the bases with it. And he just stays behind that ball and drives it in the gap between right and center, and Ichiro can't run it down, at least until it gets all the way to the right field wall. Votto comes around to score, and it is a 3-2 game.
Second double of the night for Brandon Phillips. That's been the story for Suarez as well. Reds with a 1-run lead. First time they've led all night. Well, clearly someone is already set to go from the Reds bullpen, because they hit for the pitcher when this bottom of the 7th inning began. Saw Iglesias up throwing, and if he comes into the game, it would be the first time that Brian Price has used Raisel Iglesias in back-to-back games out of the bullpen through 2 innings last night. If it is him. Blake Wood was also up a little bit earlier. No one throwing right now. We'll know shortly. Reds would like to give that reliever a little extra wiggle room. One ball, 2 strikes on Suarez, and a fastball is up and away. Well, he's overthrown everything to the right-handed batters. Falling off to the first base side of the mound and throwing to that side of the plate.
Good job by Suarez to lay off that slider. That's the first one that Whitgren has thrown here in the last couple of pitches that looked like it could have been a strike, but he read the spin immediately.
One hopper to Echeverria, and that'll end the inning. Brandon Phillips, a 2-out, 2-run double to give the Reds a 3-2 lead. Knock in a couple of runs and hand the Reds a 3-2 lead. Our Volkswagen drive of the game. What else would it be, Mr. Chris Welsh? Besides that right there.
You better believe it. It drew in true. It did with our Volkswagen drive of the game. Joey Votto was the go-ahead run as Brandon Phillips celebrates that line drive into the gap in right center field. And now turned over to Blake Wood. I didn't think it would be Raisel Iglesias, even though he may have been up and throwing earlier. 32 pitches yesterday for Iglesias. They really want to make sure that his arm stays healthy as it is right now. Blake Wood came in the other day, 2/3 of an inning, was stung with a couple of earned runs in that ball game.
And that was on that play that we came back and showed you yesterday on that bouncing ball to first base that Gordon beat the throw from Votto to the covering Wood. All right, so Wood now will face 5, 6, 7 in the batting order. Dietrich, Ichiro, and Realmuto. Billy stays in the game to play center. Schebler goes over to right field, and the night is over for Holt. Pulled to Votto. Can't find the handle. Finally throws that fastball, and that's what Wood was looking for the other night. Nicely done to stay with that by Votto. And that'll get the first out of the inning.
Good job by Votto to stay with it. You're exactly right, because you're not always going to field every ball cleanly. This ball hit very hard with some topspin. It bounces away from Votto. You got to get a handle on it and throw it on the money, and he put something on it. Wood got over there in time. You know, I mentioned to Blake Wood tonight, when I saw him before the game, I said, you know, I got to apologize to you, because I said the other day, when you were covering the bag and Votto threw the ball high and D. Gordon beat the play, I said that you were late getting the bag. I went back and looked at it on video, and you were right there.
2 up, 2 down. Now, you know what, to go to show you that practice makes perfect. Today, many hours before the Reds took batting practice, Joey Votto was out at first base today working on that exact play that occurred the other night. It's a play he felt he should have made. He backed up rather than coming in to get the high hop. That was the first problem. Then the second problem is his weight was moving back, and he flipped the ball in the air. When he flipped it in the air, because his weight was going back, the ball looked like it had helium in it. And by the time Wood caught it, the runner was safe and 2 runs scored. So what's Votto do? He's out there earlier today working on the exact play we just saw. Chopper deep behind the bag and throwing the ball overhand, not underhand, overhand to a covering pitcher. They had a pitcher that was running constantly from the grass area to go cover first base. One and 2 on Realmuto. Game tonight produced by Brian Hunterman, directed by Brian Filippetti. Associate producers Matt Sigafus and Jim Mueller. Reds live producer is Kent Weaver. Coordinating producer Bob Pennell. Our executive producer is Tom Farmer. And you know, I failed to mention one of the biggest days of the year yesterday.
You're not kidding about
the birthday of our main man in the booth, Jesse Jackson. I mean, we were so busy celebrating up here, we forgot to say it on the air.
Well, we ate cake.
Yeah.
We took pictures. We sang happy birthday. We tweeted it out.
Sang karaoke my way.
And we forgot to say it on the air. So, Jesse, accept our apologies, but happy belated birthday 1 day late.
Indeed. Traveling office supply store is Jesse Jackson. There's a swing and a miss. That's a mighty sweet tidy 8 for Blake Wood.
weekend. Thanks to Reach Magazine, you can catch all the action and save with the 4 for $48 ticket offer. Get 4 view-level tickets, 4 Reds hats for only $48. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/4 for $48.
All right, Dodgers in town beginning Friday night. Marlins with one more tomorrow night. But first things first, Reds trying to make it back-to-back wins after dropping the series opener here on Monday. They lead by a run. And a couple of changes. Chris Johnson takes over at first base. And on the mound, we've seen him 3 straight games. Hunter Cervenka. Schebler, Barnhart, and Holt, the trio do up here in the Reds' 8th inning. Whitgren gave up 2 hits and 2 runs in his only inning of work. Straight up in the air. Gordon had to battle that one, didn't have any help behind him, and was able to make the play. Well, coming up tonight and after every Reds game here on Fox Sports Ohio, stick around for Reds Live, brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. Break it all down. Jim Day will be in the Fox Sports Ohio condominium. Jeff Pecoro will bring you all the sights and sounds from the Reds clubhouse. Echevarria, good throw, 2 away. I would imagine Pick's going to be down there and talking to Joey Votto after the game tonight about, you know, Votto out here working on that play before the game. And I'll be doggone if it didn't show up in a big spot and he made the play. It's the kind of insight you get from Pick and Brian Giesenslaw, Jim Day regularly with guys like Votto and Brandon Phillips. Two down in the inning, and the Reds have Tony Cingrani up and throwing in their bullpen, hoping for a save chance. Picked up his 14th last night. Blake Wood threw the ball really well tonight. Really well. But when he's throwing strikes, he is one tough pitcher to hit.
You're not kidding, because he's got a put-away slider and a split-finger fastball that is really good. But of course, it's all predicated on being able to throw those pitches over the plate.
Ball down the right field line, and it will fall in fair. Holt can run, we know that, and he's going to make his way to third base. Here comes a throw from Gordon straight into the ground. Gets past the third baseman, and Holt with a 2-out triple here in the 8th inning.
That ball went off his bat and it just kept slicing and slicing. I think they were playing him around a little bit towards right center field. And Ichiro just sees that ball just keep curving away from him. Cole makes his decision just before he gets to the bag that he's heading to third, and I'm not so sure even a good throw by Gordon would have had a chance to get him at third base.
So another pitching change going to be made by Don Mattingly. McGowan will come on from the bullpen to try and get the final out. We'll see if Hamilton can add to this 3-2 Reds lead. And now it's a right-hander, Dustin McGowan, on to face Billy Hamilton with a runner at third, 2 outs, last of the 8th, and the Reds leading by a run.
Well, it's a one-run game, so the Marlin manager, Don Mattingly, he's got to play this as tight as he possibly can. They know that traditionally Billy Hamilton's been a better hitter right-handed than left-handed. Although recently, over the last couple of months, Hamilton has gotten so good left-handed that I'm not so sure there's that much of a dramatic difference anymore.
Well, they had the infield tapper that turned into an infield hit when he came on to pinch it just an inning ago and wound up scoring the tying run. Votto right behind him scored the go-ahead run on the 2-out 2-run double to right center field by Brandon Phillips. And now Holt with a 2-out triple stands at third. 1-1 to Billy. And there's a strike. 1-2. Pitchers of record right now are Josh Smith for the Reds, Whitgren for the Marlins. D. Gordon will throw out Hamilton, and that's all for the Reds in the 8th. Here we go in the 9th. Cingrani trying to nail it down. Reds lead by a run. But it's been a great night at the plate and in the field for the veteran Brandon Phillips, back in the lineup for the first time since Sunday.
Well, that play right there is outstanding, but given the fact that D. Gordon is the runner, it makes it an exceptional play for Brandon Phillips. He already robbed a line drive base hit away from Martin Prado an inning before. But what he did offensively is just put the Reds ahead by one with a 2-out 2-run double to right center field. So now the Reds have a 1-run lead. And their closer on the mound in Tony Cingrani. Cingrani in save opportunities, 14 for 19. '53rd game of the year for the Reds left-hander. He appeared in 35 games last year.
All right, so here we go. It'll be 8-9-1 for the Marlins. Echevarria will be followed by Chris Johnson, who came on as part of a double switch when the inning began at first base. And then D. Gordon. Strike one to Echevarria. Now, Cingrani last night allowed a leadoff triple. The Reds had a 3-run lead. He also walked a batter in the inning, but got a double play to close out the game. There's a tapper, which he should handle easily. 1 out. Late in the ball game, you always think in a 1-run game, okay, who's coming up that's capable of hitting one in the seats? And that certainly would be the story for this guy right here. You knew this young fellow when he was just a little boy, tiny little boy, very close friends. Very, very close with his father.
With Dad Ron, baseball lifer. Now I believe he's managing in the Red Sox.
Did you guys lose touch?
Yeah, we used to exchange Christmas cards, but you know how things happen along the way. I'm not sure what happened.
Two balls and no strikes. All right, now this is where you got to be careful. I mean, it's not like Johnson's some prolific home run hitter, but he does have power. He took a hearty cut on a 2-0 fastball right there and fouled it out of play. It's hard to believe it. This guy's removed a year or two away from having great seasons. Chris Johnson.
Well, he hit .321 for the Braves in 2013.
Bounced around Atlanta and Cleveland both last year.
I think that was second in the league in batting.
Career high in home runs is 12, so like we're saying, he's not what you call a bopper by any means. 2-2 pitch. That's where he hit the home run the other night. He just snuck it inside the fair pole down near his team's bullpen. Got him swinging on high gas. One more out to go.
Just a four-seam fastball, and that fastball location for Tony Cingrani is the best place for him to throw it. He's always been more effective up around the letters.
Now D. Gordon, 1 of 4 in the game. He was robbed of the second hit on that great play made by Phillips in the 5th. Reds an out away from back-to-back wins. It's been a good series. Close games, all three tight. Marlins won the first game by 3. Reds last night by 3. And now a 1-run differential with 2 outs in the 9th inning in game 3. Foul ball. Votto flipping that one to that young lady. She's mighty excited over there. So now they rise as 1. Strike away and out away from a Reds win.
Right where Tucker wanted it.
Gordon able to foul it out of play.
I think that one made Tucker an inch taller.
Still 3 balls and 2 strikes. With 2 outs, nobody on. Reds 3, Marlins 2. We're in the 9th. Votto will take it himself. Wins the race to the bag, and the Reds a really, really nice win tonight. 3-2. Got sensational bullpen work by the trio of Smith, Wood, and Cingrani. They combined 4 innings of 1-hit shutout baseball. And Brandon Phillips, the big 2-out, 2-run double in the 7th inning to give the Reds a lead for good. 3-2 our final. Back with more in a moment.